Hello, my name is Carlos Bruchon. I hope you at least know my first name. Today, however, I wanted to present to you myself in digital format. This is indeed me speaking and not some robotic voice I found on the internet. Anywho, we're working on a small budget, a tight time limit, a strange script, and a rubric that's surprisingly easy to work with and not restrictive. So let's get started. The year is 2005. Little 5-year-old Carlos is living with his grandparents in their cool yet scary at night house. One day, they're very hungry and without very good ingredients to make food. Also very lazy. I mean, let's be honest, cooking for about 5 people takes time and resources now. In this household, there were 5 people within these places. There was Grandma and Grandpa. With them was Uncle Luis and Aunt Lupe. And there was Carlos, obviously. They were famished and needed to eat. That's when Aunt Lupe had a great idea. Why don't we get burgers that are already made? We could go to McDonald's. With those lines uttered by her, the whole house contemplated for a second. Grandma and Grandpa decided it was a good idea. Okay, McDonald's it is. Let's get in the car. Let's go. Gramps was very hungry. Young Carlos was very excited. He had never heard of this McDonald place before. It sounded like that old rhyme that was taught at school about some old guy who had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. The drive to one wasn't very far. In fact, it was one that was close to his house. As they arrived, he noticed a giant playground area through the windows. It was this giant multicolored maze of sorts and amazements. He couldn't believe his eyes. How did that all fit in this building? They soon ended up in this establishment, and wham! The smell had hit young Carlos in his face. The tasty and delectable scent of hamburger meat was delicious. The saltening of fries was making his mouth water. As he was walking to the front counter to see the menu, he was gazing upon the other people's plates. Burgers of varying shapes and sizes, these chicken nugget things in boxes. A box with a smile on its sides was also good looking. There was one item that caught his attention the most, though. That was the establishment's biggest burger they had, the infamous Big Mac. He wanted it. That's what he wanted. It looked so tall and tasty. When at the counter, Aunt Lupe was asking around everyone that they wanted an order for her. She didn't ask young Carlos, though. She was already set on ordering the Happy Meal for him. That's when he spoke out and said, "Wait, I want the big one." His aunt looked at him with a bit of confusion. "Are you sure? It's pretty big. I can eat it all. Promise." "Alright, let's hope you're saying the truth." From that order placement, they decided on a place to sit down and wait for their order. That's when opportunity had arisen. Young Carlos had suggested the playground area. Had some spots available. Sure enough, the adults obliged. There it was, the holy land to young Carlos, the McDonald's playground area. It had the slides, the little tabletop foosball, and the greatest invention to mankind, video games. Young Carlos could not believe his eyes. Right before his gaze was the eternally entertaining GameCube, Nintendo's newest video console at the time. It even had the greatest video game known to man within it, Super Smash Bros. Melee. As the adults got to sit down at a table, young Carlos went ahead and started playing. He'd already played this before, so naturally, he was still pretty garbage since he was still a 5-year-old. I mean, can you blame him? He's just a young kid. He was having the time of his life, though, even if he didn't fully understand what exactly was going on. Soon enough, their order number was called. 207. A207. As his aunt went to go get the food, young Carlos was called by his folks to come sit. Did he wash his hands? No, of course not. There was no fear of some killing virus out there. That, and they were a pretty lazy group of people. Young Carlos sat down and saw the ginormous burger come his way. Then, it landed in front of him. He opened the box it was being held in, and it glistened in its rich, tasty buns, delicate and juicy lettuce, and ever so creamy secret sauce. It was perfection upon viewing. He held it in his tiny baby hands, and it was just sitting there in his palms, waiting to be devoured. Munch. He had taken a big bite of the burger, at least big for his standards. Upon chewing, he had reached the heavens. This was the best tasting food he had ever experienced. His taste buds were so excited that they went for another without swallowing the first. He chewed and chewed until it was easy enough to swallow. That's when young Carlos had discovered his one and only love, burgers. As he grew older, all he could think about were burgers. He wanted the Big Mac. He wanted the Quarter Pounder. He wanted the McChicken. Sure, the fries and other such small sides like the McNuggets were great tag-alongs, but the burger was the main selling point. Carlos would inevitably grow older and find out about other burger places. Once his options were more varied, he was able to try new burger places. He ate the ultimate bacon cheeseburger at Jack in the Box. That one became his favorite. Then came the Baconator from Wendy's. That was the new favorite. Later on, he had the ultimate cheeseburger from Sonic. That one replaced the old favorite. Later, even more later, he had the In-N-Out Double Double. Sure, it wasn't as great as the others, but since the prices were so low, he could order 3 of those bad boys and chow them all down. That's when the ultimate form of a burger came from the best, a king himself. This is, of course, referring to the Burger King. The Triple Stacker King with lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles, ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise was the best burger there was to him. Now at this point, you in the audience may be wondering, what is the point of this story? To which I will now pull the mask off this lighthearted story of a kid who saw a burger and let himself become an addict. Sure, it's no cocaine or alcohol, but an addiction of any kind is having too much of anything for your own good. That's what happened as Carlos grew up. He never knew when to quit, making it his life goal to visit any restaurant chain that had and sold burgers to him. Burger this and burger that. It started showing in his weight. What was once a skinny first grader turned into an overweight fourth grader and beyond. This mild issue is only with burgers for Carlos. The true horror lies within those who have eating disorders far worse than Carlos' situation. The amount of diabetes and high blood sugar issues that this can cause is quite terrifying to think of. So many people, not just in the United States, get used to eating such great tasting foods without much thought of the outcomes it can cause, out of simply just enjoying the taste without fully grasping the consequences it can bring. People may say you still look good, nice, and beautiful, but health-wise, it may or may not be coming with serious side effects or even death at an early age. At the end of the day, you have your own life choices in this matter. But for Carlos, it ended up being a huge uphill battle with obesity.